What's up, guys? How you doing? Welcome to Movie Emporiums Reviews, where we take movies from all around our past and break them down. As always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out the YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. Email nlapolo1138@gmail.com if you have any questions. All right, so we just did our best of 2018 for Movie Emporium. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, great film. You knew I was going to talk about that, but we're going to get into everybody's favorite list of every year. The worst films of 2018. You're probably going to piss off a lot of people. I don't care. I hated these movies with a passion. I've talked about it, a lot of them in my previews and my reviews and so on and so forth. So what I'm going to do is do a couple honorable mentions and then get into the top 10 list. So for dishonorable mentions instead of honorable like I did in the last video, first one is Tomb Raider. I like the trailers. I thought they were good. This movie was not good. This is another video game fail. The other one was Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. The Harry Potter franchise has fallen off the cliff. Those are the honorable mentions. We'll go ahead and get into our top worst movies of the year list for 2018. The first one is The Nun. How do you make a horror film not scary? Of course, you do The Nun, which is based in the Conjuring universe. And I was bored and I didn't think this movie was any good, and just nothing about this movie is scary. The one thing I love about horror films is the fact that they can make you jump and get uncomfortable, and there's nothing uncomfortable about this movie. It's just some jump scares and then some rumbling and some like, rah, and I'm like, whatever. I don't care about this movie. Sinister all day. None. Get out of my face. But that's it. That's number 10. I love Jurassic Park. Jurassic World, whatever. It's fine for what it is. It's a rehashing like Force Awakens. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, this has the weirdest plot structure of any movie I've ever seen in my entire life. It's just dumb. It's just, why do they keep making these movies? And maybe it's just not my cup of tea anymore, but just, I love Jurassic movies, and this is just not good. There's nothing redeeming or good about this. And then why would they build Isla Nublar or Sonar or whatever the hell that island is in a volcano? That doesn't make any sense. Why is it in this movie? Why is this movie even created? Whatever. I don't like this movie. Move on. So number 8 is a movie I just saw recently within the last couple weeks of when I recorded this. It's The Possession of Hannah Grace. This is another horror film that doesn't make any sense. It takes place in a concrete bunker, which is a morgue. There's no real jump scares. The scares aren't good. Like, people die in stupid ways, and I hate these types of horror films because they're just cash grabs. And if I wasn't doing a review channel, I would never see this movie because it's just terrible. Everybody's terrible in this movie. They make stupid decisions. Why does this movie exist? It's just another possession movie, and it's funny because it's not as bad as my number 1, but it's just like, what the hell were they thinking? And like I said, it's probably a cash grab, but whatever. So we'll move on to number 7, which is, so YA novels. They're never really that successful. You get The Hunger Games, you get Twilight, but you get stuff like The Darkest Minds. And this is a movie that had a trailer that I thought was pretty decent. I thought it could be cool, but there's nothing cool about this movie. It's boring, and it just nothing happens. And then when the action sequences do happen, it's just like, what is even going on here? And that goes on, and they treat this like it's going to be a movie franchise, but there's nothing franchisey about it. It's just a boring adaptation of a YA novel. So it's not good. That's why it's in my top 10 worst of the year. So number 6 is a movie that I was actually looking forward to. It was a Disney film of a famous novel called A Wrinkle in Time. I thought it was going to be good. You know, you have Ava DuVernay directing it. She directed Selma, which was really good. She's a very talented director. But something happened along in the production. I don't know if it's because she didn't know how to handle special effects, or just that she's going too broad with her, crazy with her storytelling. But this movie is just all over the place. It doesn't make any sense. It gets too pretentious when you have Oprah Winfrey and Reese Witherspoon. It just feels like they're overpowering the story, which is an interesting story about a girl looking for her father in a space-time continuum. And it just, I don't know. I just wasn't compelled by this movie, and it just wasn't well done. And I felt terrible for Ava DuVernay, but it's just not a good movie. So number 5, talk about a movie that I was super excited for. Nobody else was excited for this movie, and that's fine. But when you get Brian Henson back to do a Muppet movie, and he's doing a rated R Muppet movie, and you're putting Melissa McCarthy in this movie, and you're putting Joe McHale in this movie looks like it looked incredible. It looked like it was gonna be a lot of fun. It was gonna look like it was gonna be raunchy. It was silly and dark, and Elizabeth Banks was in this movie, and I was just super excited for it. And then I watched it. I'm like, how the hell do you miss? How? What are you doing? Ryan Henson, who is a son of Jim Henson, is just completely falling off the radar, and I don't know what they were thinking. And it's just not a fun movie to watch. And I just feel like there's so much bad stuff going on in this movie. Puppets are being killed off. There's a lot of dirty jokes, and it just gets like repetitive after a while. But this movie's just not fun. It's not good, and there's a reason why it's so high up on my list, because it's so disappointing and just so terrible. And I feel like there could have been so much good material that Brian Henson wasted, and I don't know. I just feel like this is a huge misstep, and that's why I consider it one of the worst movies of the year. So Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg have done Patriots Day, and they've done Deepwater Horizon in the last couple of years. Both were pretty decent films. Patriots Day was a little too fantastical, but then they decided to do this movie called Mile 22. One, this movie is too short. One, this movie makes no sense. One, the action sequences are terrible. Two, it's just like the reveals at the end. You're just like, what the hell just happened? And Peter Berg is such a hit and miss director. Every Deepwater Horizon that he does, or Very Bad Things, he does stuff like this in Battleship. But when you're sitting in a movie for 95 minutes and you're looking at watch going, when's this movie going to be over with? Because this movie just is Michael Bay bullshit. It's just, I can't deal with that. I can't deal with a movie that's so inept that it just can't treat its characters properly. And when even Mark Wahlberg just seems not interested in the movie, it leads to a disaster. And that's why this movie is just absolutely horrendous garbage. So sometimes you have to see movies to review it. If you have an audience, they want to know what you think about movies. So I went to see Ken, and I don't know why I went to see this movie. I don't understand what the point of this movie was. This movie is awful. And just, oh my God, I just felt like I was tensing up when I was watching this movie, because it's just like, when you watch stuff like this, you just wonder if they're like, once again, is it a cash grab, or do they think this is good material? And it's just not a good movie, and it's painful to watch. And why? And then you learn the kid's an alien, and that's it. And this movie sucks. All right, so this is going to give me the most hate, and I understand. But how can you say Venom is a good movie? This movie sucks. This movie, I sat laughing. I was the only one in the theater, and people were coming and go, what is this guy laughing at? Because this movie is terrible. The guy okay, the visual effects are okay, but you have Riz Ahmed, who's like a 90s style villain. He's kind of like Steve Norrington in Blade. And you have Tom Hardy, who's doing this like weird eccentric accent. And he's like, then he has the Venom character, and then he's trying to report on stuff, and it's just like, and then he goes into a fish or lobster tank and starts eating a lobster. How does this movie make $800 million? This movie's just all over the place, and then this movie's like what happens when Sony is desperate for a hit, and they showed it with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That movie's amazing, and I'd be interested to see what they do with Venom in it, but there's nothing good or redeeming about this movie. I don't understand why people like this movie. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack or hate for it, but I just feel like this movie's a turd in a wind. And then he's going to eat the guy at the end. And it's just like, ugh. So that's the 10 through 2. You guys know what's going to be number 1. I've talked about it in many videos. Let's not even wait. Let's not hesitate. Let's talk about it. So number 1 is Slender Man. Slender Man is one of the worst movies I've seen in the decade, if not the last of my life. This movie has the most inept characters I've ever seen in my entire life. What could be an interesting Five Nights at Freddy's story, or just an interesting horror film, is turned into some of the most mind-bogglingly stupidity I've ever seen. Slenderman is a terribly terrible looking character. The girls are retarded. They do things that doesn't make any sense. This movie just boggles the mind with how bad it is. And this movie not only sucks, but at the end, the girl gets sucked into a tree. After she's gone through all this shit, she gets sucked into a tree. So apparently, Slenderman likes to put people in trees to possess them. Like, who does that shit? And then there's like, and I just boggles my mind why this movie exists. And I know a lot of people are gonna put this in the top 10, but if you find in your heart not to put this at number one, you're a crazy person because this movie is insane, absolute garbage. And I hope this movie gets burned in a pit of fire. I'm pretty sure you can buy this movie for $5 right now, but if you bought this movie online for $20, you're either love you ball style films or you just really like this movie and you're insane for liking it. But this movie is hot garbage and it's one of the worst movies. It's the worst movie of the year, if not the worst movie I've ever seen. So there you go. There's my worst movies of 2018. So as always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Email unlepulla113@gmail.com. Comment below. Maybe you have a top 10 list of movies you hated this year. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to give me a lot of flack for Venom. I don't care. That movie sucked. I don't like it. But everybody has different opinions. So there you go. And we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.